The new musical Harmony from Barry Manilow and Bruce Sussman is now on Broadway. It tells a remarkable story of the comedian harmonist, the biggest music sensation of pre-Nazi Germany. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Thanks, TAMSEN. Broadway favorite Chip Zien is enjoying one of the greatest roles of his long and storied career in Harmony. I got to hang with Chip in his beautiful home on New York City's Upper West Side. How you doing, Chip?
I'm doing great, Paul. Good to see you.
Here we are in the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
This is your hood.
I'm in Zabar land.
This is a classic Broadway neighborhood.
Right.
What's it like in those periods of your life when you're actually starring in a Broadway show?
It becomes the whole day. Yeah, being on Broadway, I start thinking, when I wake up in the morning, I test my voice, I make stupid sounds like and to see if there's anything there. And you think about it all day. By the time it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I start thinking about what I'm gonna eat. 4 o'clock, I take a nap, and the show at night. Then that routine never stops.
You've been on Broadway since you were a kid in your 20s.
Yes, exactly. It's 50 years of it's unbelievable. I always think it's so strange. I just grew up in the suburbs of Milwaukee and Broadway.
We're gonna sit down and take us to your place. We're gonna sit down and talk about some of your credits, but I just have to be a fanboy for 1 second because I am the biggest fan of your performance in Grand Hotel. And I just want to show everybody, I got this at the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS flea market, Grand Hotel. So I'm wearing the show jacket. So can we go check out your place?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Let's
awesome.
go.
This is your home.
You are in my home. I've been here since 1985. It's a classic.
New York City, Upper West Side. I mean, this is a great place.
It's a classic 6, and we're very lucky to have it.
Classic 6 meaning 6 rooms?
Yes.
So you raised your family here?
Yes,
You've done countless shows that I love while living here?
Yeah. I actually bought the apartment because of, I got a down payment, enough money to have a down payment from Howard the Duck.
For everyone, you are the voice of Howard the Duck. To me, I mean, ultimate Broadway star.
Yeah.
But actually Howard the Duck, which is a classic 1980s flop, which has a big following.
Flop.
That was a bit, but that's a great footnote in your resume.
Yes.
But the footnote paid for the apartment.
Yes, that was the beauty of it. It gave me my down payment, but then Into the Woods was supposed to come into town faster than it did, and I suddenly got very nervous that I didn't have enough funds to sustain my new lifestyle. But it worked out.
South Pacific, is that what got you to the stage?
Yes. I played a magnificent young Polynesian boy. We put on like tan to makeup.
It was a different time.
Yeah, it was a different time. And I sang Dites-moi pourquoi la vie est belle. When shows came into Milwaukee, well, as much as you could have a stage mother in Milwaukee, because there wasn't that much going on. Mom took me to auditions, but I became like one of the kids who worked when professional companies came through town. I would get hired to be in their productions, like summer stock stuff. At some point, my mom asked me, it was actually after South Pacific, the director of that show said, Chip, if he came to New York, could work. He could get jobs in the theater. And my mom asked me if
As a kid?
As a kid. And my mom asked me if I wanted to go to New York. And I said, you're trying to give me away? I am not, I am not going to New York. I was terrified of the whole concept of New York. I was a boy soprano. I had an embarrassingly high voice. So, I went to camp, like we do with kids, and it was a boys' camp. I ended up playing all the great female roles. I was Eliza in My Fair Lady. I was Lola in Damn Yankees. I was Annie in Annie Get Your Gun. And then my mom called up, and the camp director and said, could he graduate into a male role? Would that be okay?
Is that because of your voice?
Yeah,
there weren't enough girls in the camp?
There were no girls.
There were no girls.
Yeah,
okay.
No, and it was, I loved it because they were the lead roles. So like, I thought, what the hell? But I was temperamental. If the director gave me a note, I used to go run out of the theater building, and I would grab a canoe and run out to the place called Teepee Island in the canoe, paddle out, and scream. And you know how your voice echoes all over the lake?
Yes.
I would scream, get someone else. If you can find someone else, get them. I'm not doing it. So anyway, I was tempted. Now, of course, I set the gold standard for behavior in the theater. Go ahead.
How did you get to New York City? When did you get to New York City?
Well, what happened, so at Penn, I went to Penn. I was in this organization called the Mask and Wig Club. And I mean, I had a secret desire. I thought maybe I could do the acting thing. Then the Vietnam War interceded.
Right.
So I ended up teaching school.
Well, because you got a draft letter, right? And
I was going to be drafted.
You were going to be drafted, so you had to.
Yeah,
that was your plan to stay.
Right.
home.
Yeah, I did that. I taught school for a year. Then the lottery system went into effect. My stepsister had a theater group from the University of Wisconsin that was in a place called West Dundee, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. Somebody got sick. She asked me to join them. I now was not involved with the draft, so I thought, like, what the heck? I'm going to go to this theater. We went out on a Sunday when we were off. We came back, the place burned to the ground. We watched it burn, and we lived there. All our stuff, our record collections in those days, you know, everything burned. We had 2 cars between us. Some kids went to Los Angeles. They were never heard from again. I got in the car that went to New York because I had friends in New York, and I ended up in New York. Very quickly after that, I got Charlie Brown, and I was like off and running. So then I was in Actors Equity. I loved being in Charlie Brown, and you know, I was kind of off and running. It was amazing.
Did you do How to Succeed in Business up here when you were a kid?
Yes.
Yeah.
I ended up getting this, you know, How to Succeed in Business, playing the lead. You know, I was incredibly lucky. For the Charlie Brown audition, I crashed it. When I went in, they said, "These are callbacks. Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, it must be a mistake. I'm here." And they let me audition, and so there was so much luck. And I don't think nowadays that that's even possible.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
I don't think it's possible.
And then you got to Broadway, not in hits right away, but you.
Well, the Charlie Brown audition was at the Booth.
Yeah.
The first Broadway show I got was also at the Booth. It was a show called All Over Town, written by Murray Shiskel.
That was directed by
Dustin Hoffman.
And you played like a sex addict.
Yes, this like very odd sex addict guy. When we did How to Succeed at the Equity Library Theater, there was a list of dignitaries who came to the show. One of the guys who was on the list was Dustin Hoffman.
Oh.
And I was ill from it. I was terrified that Dustin Hoffman would be watching me act.
Did you know he was there when he was there?
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
But I was out with my wife near Bloomingdale's, and I bump into this very statuesque, tall, blonde woman who my wife seems to know. I don't know who she is. And the next thing I know, there's a hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "That's my wife you're talking to." It was Dustin Hoffman.
Wow.
Turns out the woman that my wife was talking to was his wife, and they had danced together in the New York City Ballet.
Right.
We ended up at his house. They invited us over for drinks. I'm going, "No, I'm fine. Good, nice to meet you." He asked me what I do. I said, I work nights.
Is that the line you told people?
Yeah, I didn't know what to say. I said, like, I work at night. And I said, but this is, eventually I said, look, this is really embarrassing. I'm in a show. I think you saw me last night in a show called How to Succeed in Business at the Equity Library Theater. He said, no. He said, that was my business partner. We're looking for actors.
Okay.
Let's call my business partner and see if he liked you.
Wow.
And I said, no. It's like, we're drinking wine. It's good. We're at your house. It's fine. Everything's fine. And it all turned out. And that's how I ended up in my first Broadway show,
Wow.
which was called All Over Town, directed by Dustin Hoffman.
I've known your career forever, but actually digging into some of the elements, you are so woven into so many things about this industry. Like, for example, you were in a cabaret show introducing this kind of up-and-coming songwriter at the piano, and it was Alan Menken. I mean, like before Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah,
you were like the star of his cabaret act.
Yeah, I did a bunch of things for Alan. We were really close friends. We were little guys who like hung out, and I'd go to his place, and he'd play the piano and write these beautiful songs, and it was amazing. Yeah, I did the Patch, a review called Patch,
That's what it was called,
Patch.
right.
Then there was another review called New York's Back in Town.
Sure.
And it's like, and you know, yeah, I got to sing Alan Menken songs, and we became really close friends.
Another connection I realized a couple of years after Merrily We Roll Along, the biggest hit on Broadway. We never thought we would say that, right? The biggest hit on Broadway,
Amazing.
Merrily We Roll Along.
Yeah.
But a couple of years after it failed the first time, you were in the reworking out at La Jolla. You were Charlie. That was going to maybe be the rebirth of Merrily.
We thought we were coming to Broadway.
Right.
I mean, it was brutal. Again, I want to talk about luck. I auditioned for Merrily We Roll Along. I get it. There was a revival of Sweet Charity at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Fosse said to me, 99% of what you just did, I'm not interested in. But the 1% fascinates me. And he said, I'm offering you the job right now, but you have to say yes right now. You know, I wanted to do Merrily. I said, well, you know, my agent will be so angry. He said, no, that's what I'm talking about. I don't want to hear that. I'm offering you the part. And I didn't take it. Michael Rupert from Falsettos.
Yes, your
Michael
friend
Rupert,
and co-star,
really close friend, got Sweet Charity. He had also auditioned for Merrily. I got Merrily. He's in Sweet Charity. He wins a Tony Award.
Yes.
He also comes to La Jolla, where we're doing Merrily We Roll Along, and he said to me, what a shame. He said, I'm going to win a Tony Award. This is before he won it or was nominated. He said, I'll probably win a Tony Award, and your show still doesn't work. And we laughed. But the other thing about that was that the casting director from Universal came backstage after Merrily, and she said, you know, yeah, the show's kind of weird. She said, but to me, you sound like a duck. And that led to Howard the Duck and the apartment we're sitting in. I mean, so those are, you know, there's so much, you know, luck.
Your career is
hilarious. Amazing.
You're especially special to me because of this 5-year period where you somehow landed in 3 of my favorite musicals, playing 3 iconic things. I mean, you were the baker in Into the Woods, and then you replaced Michael Jeter as Kringeline in Grand Hotel. And you're Mendel. What is it like to get to be a part of projects that are so special to people?
You know, that was an unbelievable sequence of events, and I'm eternally grateful that I was able to do that. Grand Hotel, I replaced, but we were in the Martin Beck the same theater that Into the Woods, and it was scary because I knew the theater so well, but I didn't know the part. I got really pushed on stage, but it was an unbelievable experience because Tommy Tune had a way of choreographing that made you look really good. I mean, I would walk out of the stage door and people would say, you know, where did you study dance? My wife is a dancer, ballet dancer, and she would just laugh. I mean, it was like, I was in LA when I got a phone call to come back to do Grand Hotel. I said to my agent, I said, no, I'm out here now. I'm trying to figure out what to do after Into the Woods. And then I went back to sleep. It was like, you know, early LA time. And when I woke up, I thought, like, that's a big mistake. And coming back to do Grand Hotel was what I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, and Falsettos.
And then we go to Falsetto. Falsettos
was such a many years, right?
And it was
coming to Broadway was many years later.
It was such a family event. That was a family, and sort of that feeling of family, and also the time at which Falsettos landed on Broadway was in the midst of a horrible moment in our history of sadness, and people who came to the show, many of our friends were not well. It felt more important than any of the normal concerns you have when you're opening a show. It was a celebration. It was like a joy to open it. We weren't that worried. We all had known each other for over 12 years, and we had done workshops and various versions of it. And so that was a celebration.
At this point in your life and in your career, when something like Harmony comes along, this is a big, juicy role. You're a rabbi.
Right.
What is it like to get an opportunity at this point, and how is it different than maybe some of these other things we talked about?
Look, I was kind of pulling back. I mean, through the pandemic, and and then all of a sudden I got a call from my agent that Barry Manilow has a show. I didn't know the history of the show. And they're very interested in you for this part. And I said, but Barry Manilow couldn't possibly know me. But it turned out that, he did. And they sent me the script, and I thought, like, It's unbelievable. Years ago, I was friendly with Tony Randall, and he said to me, like, if you get, like, you know, in an entire career, if you get a couple Broadway shows that you think you have a great role in, you're lucky if you have 2. He said 2, maybe 3, and I've had 4.